In this segment, I'd like to describe how we generate pronouns in TBTA. Now, pronouns are a difficult issue for natural language generators. Some languages have very elaborate pronominal systems. Other languages are pro-drop languages. Other languages, they may have pronouns, but they prefer to use a title. For example, in Korean has a pronominal system, but it's very rare that you'll hear a Korean person use a second person pronoun in either direct speech or written text. They prefer to use a title. For example, when talking to another person, they will refer to that person as father or teacher or pastor. They won't use the word you. If they're talking to a friend, they will refer to that person as older brother or younger sister or something like that. So they'd rather use a title instead of a second person singular pronoun. The approach that we've adopted in TBTA is a two-step approach, and both steps are right here. First, we need to identify which nominals can be realized with a pronoun, and then, after we've identified those nominals, then we provide rules that will insert the proper surface form. We're here at clauses 170, which produces in English, after John walked, he read a book. But there are no pronouns in the semantic representations. In English, we generate a he right here. But in the semantic representations, we always have the nominal, in this case, John. It's up to us to write rules that identify which nominals can be realized with a pronoun, and then provide the proper surface form. I'll go to the feature set. We use a feature on nouns called surface realization. And there are three values: not applicable, always a noun, and unambiguous pronoun. The vast majority of the nouns in the semantic representations have a surface realization value of not applicable. In very special situations, we will mark a noun as always a noun. For example, in John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All three occurrences of Word are marked as always a noun. The Greek text uses three nouns there. The English translations use three nouns there. So we've marked all three occurrences of word as always a noun. Now, in your language, if you prefer something like, in the beginning was the Word, and it was with God, and it was God, you can ignore that value. Your rules can override this value. But occasionally, we will set a noun's surface realization feature to always a noun. We never mark nominals in the semantic representations with a value of unambiguous pronoun. It's up to you as a linguist to write rules that will set this value. And then, after you've set this value, you can write rules that will look at this value and generate the proper surface form. So I'd like to show that process right now. I've already written some rules here that will position the adverbial clause at the beginning of the sentence, and it inserts a comma, etc. In this segment, we're going to focus on generating a pronoun for the second occurrence of John. So let's enter a group into this node here. We'll call it identify pronouns. Pronoun rules are always triggered by nouns, so we're going to select nouns. And we'll begin by building a structure that has two noun phrases. I'll insert nouns into both of them. Now we want these two nouns to be referring to the same referent. So I'm going to set both of their indices to I. Now we know both of these nouns have the same noun list index value, so they are the same referent. And at this point, it's very helpful to select ignore causal embedding and ignore phrasal embedding. We don't care how deeply this second noun is embedded. If these two nominals are the same referent, we want the second one, in English anyway, we want the second one to be realized with the pronoun. Now we come down here, and we set the surface realization value to unambiguous pronoun. Now this is a very simple example. Eventually, these rules become a bit more elaborate. For example, if there's an intervening nominal with the same gender, if these are both third-person nouns, and there's an intervening third-person nominal, of the same gender, then here we can do this. But in this particular segment, we'll keep things simple and set the surface realization value to unambiguous pronoun. Let's give this rule a name. If two nominals with the same noun list index value occur in a sentence, set the second nominal's surface realization value to unambiguous pronoun. Let's provide a grammar topic, for example, pronouns. Let's initialize and we'll generate this verse. Now if we look here, down towards the bottom of the pop-up, surface realization equals unambiguous pronoun. And if we rest our cursor here, we'll see a history of this word. There in the middle of the pop-up, features change from surface realization equals not applicable to unambiguous pronoun by the rule that we just wrote. Okay, now let's write a rule that will look for unambiguous pronoun. The person is third and the number is singular. So we'll write a rule that will just insert the pronoun he. And let's call this personal pronouns. Okay, this will be a new translation. The features will be masculine, singular. Okay, third person, singular, masculine. Oh, and we also want to specify that it's unambiguous pronoun. That will be realized with he. Again, let's give this a grammar topic. And if we generate this verse now, after John walked, he read a book. So that's the proper form. These pronoun spell-out rules and the pronoun identification rules eventually become much more elaborate. Let's go and look at the English pronoun systems. The spell-out rules. Okay, here's a table spell-out rule for English pronouns. It has 6 layers. The first layer is personal pronouns. Singular subject, plural subject, singular non-subject, plural non-subject, and then first person, second person, third person, masculine, feminine, neuter, etc. And you can look at the various layers. There's reflexive pronouns, reciprocal pronoun, possessive pronouns, locative pronouns, etc. And the identification rules also become fairly elaborate. But you'll need to work out the details for your language. Just follow this 2-step process and use that feature called surface realization. And another helpful comment, in general, we undergenerate pronouns. By that I mean we generate only the very obvious pronouns. If something is questionable or borderline, we would prefer to leave that as a noun. And then, as I mentioned in other segments, these texts always need to be post-edited by mother tongue translations. And they can easily convert a noun to a pronoun. It's more difficult for them. If we've generated too many pronouns, it's more difficult for them to follow the text and then convert some of the pronouns back to nouns. So in general, we undergenerate these pronouns. And that concludes this segment.